Thank you, Jen. So I'm Kurtis Lindqvist. I'm the CEO of LINX, and I'm going to try and go through this in 15 minutes. But I guess if anyone can do it, that's me or Thomas. But let's try. I'm going to try and speak not too fast. So just a bit the last quarter in summary, we've had 43 applications so far this year for new membership compared to 85 for the full year 2020. So that seems to be holding up quite well, and we're up to 885 members. So we're still seeing a net growth with 17 members since the last quarter, or since the last LINX meetings, I should say. And March was actually the second highest number of applications in 1 month we ever had. So that's been very positive. It's just clearly quite a lot of interest still to join LINX. And we continue to see growth in 100 gig ports, so 21, but we've also seen probably the highest number of cancellations of 100 gig ports we had. And also we see 10 gig ports going down a bit, which is why the overall edge capacity hasn't grown as much maybe as in past quarters. So it's a bit lower growth quarter on quarter in total edge capacity this quarter than we see in other quarters, but that could be for a number of reasons, as we also saw quite a lot of influx at the end of the last quarter and end of the last year. So we also start seeing continuous growth in the other IXPs, the regional IXPs. So we have this is year to date, we've had more 100 gig orders for both Manchester and JetIX. We are seeing 10 gig orders from 10 gig orders from Manchester, and 7 10 gig port orders for Nova alone. I didn't actually include the 1 gigs, but we have seen these orders keep coming in. So we continue to see growth across all the regional access as well, which is great. On the staff side, we've had one new starter, which is Glyn. We've had no leavers in this quarter, but there's 2 open positions to fill, and these are for staff that are about to leave, I should say. So the actual overall staff position is fairly static, or very static, but we do have some staff that unfortunately decided to go to other places. So those are open. You can find more about those on the website. I wanted to update one thing about the annual report. We have published the annual report, and as you will have seen by the email to the membership list. As you might have known for the past few years, LINX has actually published 2 different annual reports. We have published the one, the so-called glossy one, as we call it internally, which is the one that you tend to see in the membership list. And then we also had the statutory accounts that we filed to Companies House that has much more the financial detail in it, while the other one probably have much more of an outlook and operational detail. The board has been discussing this, and our ambition is that from the 2021 annual report, so the one we publish a year from now, these will be the same. This means that we want to do this to increase transparency and to actually make our life not easier, because it also means that the auditors will have to sign off on the full report, including if you want the outlook and the glossy part. But it will also mean that we have a much more stringent reporting and documentation we send to the membership. So our ambition is to make this one single report where you will have a greater detail on the financial side, but also much more explanation around this, and so it's all more linked and we increase the transparency towards the membership. So that's our ambition for next year. As I said, I really hope we can do this, but we will need to work this through with the auditors, as they will sign off on the full report as of next year. We have also in the quarter received the Financial Services Supply Accreditation, FSQS. We do have a number of financial services companies that are both current members, and we also have a lot of interest from the fintech side. As that's a regulated environment, that they tend to need a lot of vendor compliance documents from us, and this will help us with achieve that. And we have a lot of standardization around this. We believe this is going to make that maintaining those memberships much easier for us going forward, and to provide a bit more value for those members. So I think that's a great step forward that Jen and the team has been working through. And then I wanted to talk a little bit about LINX pricing, and this is the follow-up from the discussion we had. This was triggered a bit by the mailing list discussion we had some weeks ago. So for some time, LINX board and staff have been looking at the way we price what we do and what our members use, and margins. And I lose margins in a very loose sense here. So this is essentially gross margins, but we're obviously trying to keep a balanced budget and result. And as you saw with Malcolm, that's what we try to do. But we also have categories of products that do not contribute to this, but still generate quite a bit of cost for us to provide. And so we've gone through this, and also to make sure that we don't have a negative impact on direct cost, that they cover at least their own direct costs. You will remember that at LINX113, I talked about this the first time, and we reviewed the co-location pricing, and I explained that we had gone through the co-location we sell, and we had realized that in some of these very old contracts and well, historical installations we had, we weren't even covering the direct cost against the data centers, and this had to be reviewed. And we've been going through, we're still actually going through these contracts because it's quite a large and quite a complex task, to make sure that this is actually providing its own cost back to LINX. And at LINX110, Mike talked through the reasoning around PI and why we wanted to introduce the recurring charges and new bundles, as well as a one-off patch fee for new patches ordered. And this is, again, the PI service actually comes with quite a lot of fixed installation to us. This is, and I think many members don't quite really understand what's meant in the PI product, because we actually do have 20 racks that we pay for just to service this, plus all the work we have that goes into this by the engineers, the verification of the authentication of the cabling. We sometimes provide audits for members, and there's a lot of work that goes into this, and we have systems in place to track this. So it's not just a remote hand service as might sometimes come across like. It does actually come with real running costs for us. So at LINX110, we announced this change, and we sent this out as part of the service fee document to the membership list, both then and then later, as before we approved it at the GM. And the driver behind this is really to make sure that the costs we have with the PI charges are being covered by the PI products. We didn't introduce this on existing cabling because we didn't think that was fair. But on any changes going forward or any new orders, this was coming in place, and that included the request for new patches. And the reason we did this per patch as opposed per request is that a lot of the requests we get are actually for quite large volumes of patching. So we have had a single request that's taken an entire engineer's time for over a week to complete, and that's just one request. So it's not feasible to charge this per request either. So that's why we decided to do this on a per patch essentially work, just to make sure we cover the actual workload included in this and how this works. So we're going through all of these products to review this, and part of this is also that we want to make sure that these stand by themselves, and all this work and they already put into this is not covered by the port fees. We also continue to look at the port charges. As you know, we have lowered port fees basically, I think, forever, as long as I know at least. And we continue to look at the port fees and how this are constructed. One of the challenges we see going forward is how we're going to create a migration path from 1 gig to 10 gig, as 1 gig is sort of becoming more and more obsolete. And how do you face that? How do you encourage people to move from 10 gig to 100 gig and eventually from 100 to 400 gig? And what does those path and pricing to support that look like? So that's work that's ongoing, and we continue to do, and that's part of all the work we do inside this. And then last, I wanted to just cover a few other things. One is on COVID-19. We continue to work remotely when we can, and we, pending the government advice, we will return to a new normal on June the 21st. We do believe the new normal for us is going to be much more flexible than we have in the past. There's going to be a lot more home working, and maybe see staff come to offices when they need to, so maybe 2-3 times a week. But we will provide for home working beyond that. And maybe I should have taken these bullet points in a different order. As part of this, we have actually also moved the London offices. So we moved within the WeWork estate from Leadenhall to Minister Court, because WeWork is what, as they call, blacking out the Leadenhall site. So we moved to a slightly smaller office again, administrative corner. We think that's going to suit our future needs better because of the new normal, and it also has a slightly different layout and working for us. We do think that will work better for us as well. And then last, so despite what I said on the first slide, that we had seen only 1 terabit of edge capacity being deployed in this quarter, we have seen another terabit of peak traffic come as well. So the utilization has been going up. So there's 5 terabit on my slide last time and the 6 terabit this time. So that's clearly traffic growth is holding up in this environment. I think for everyone, the big question will be what happens when we all go back to a new normal, and is this going to continue, or what does this actually mean? I think that'll be really interesting to see.